Coming up on this edition of Whether or Not, we have nature in the news stories ranging from hazardous waste here in Centre County to evaporating lakes around the world. Jake has a feature on a faculty member leaving us later this year, and we'll have an extended forecast for your look at the first week of May. Stay right there. Whether or Not starts right now. And thank you for joining us on this final edition of Whether or Not. I am Andy Moffitt, your host.
And I'm your forecaster, Addis Juklo.
And Addis, it looks like we jumped over spring and just went right to summer with these temperatures we've been having.
Yeah, after the top 10 coldest April here in State College, it looks like we're finally welcoming in some warmth to start the month. And it looks like the above average temperatures will probably continue even into next week, but we'll have more information on that a little later.
Feeling that heat even here in the studio, but
absolutely.
I'm looking forward to see what your forecast has coming right up. But first, here are some nature in the news stories. Penn State Extension's Master Watershed Steward program recently received recognition from the state for its efforts to improve Pennsylvania's water quality. The program was a recipient of the Governor's Award for Environmental Excellence, presented annually by the Department of Environmental Protection. The recognition is the highest statewide honor bestowed upon businesses and organizations for environmental performance and innovation in cleaning up watersheds, saving energy, eliminating pollution, reducing waste, and other initiatives. In 2017 alone, there were 194 master watershed stewards in 12 counties in Pennsylvania. These volunteers contributed over 7,500 volunteer hours, valued at approximately $177,000. In that time, they educated more than 200,000 people about environmental stewardship through teaching in 111 schools and 115 community events. In addition, the volunteers monitored 15 streams, constructed 5 demonstration rain gardens, planted 915 trees, and built 118 rain barrels. To learn more about the volunteer initiative, visit Penn State Extension's Master Watershed Steward program webpage.
Nikhil Bharadwaj had an ingenious idea for improving the tailgating experience for him and his friends at Penn State football games. Drawing from his love of renewable energy, the senior, majoring in energy engineering in the College of Earth and Mineral Sciences, began drafting plans for a small-scale solar box capable of charging cell phones and powering devices while tailgating at Beaver Stadium. But when Hurricanes Irma and Maria pummeled Puerto Rico, dismantling power on about 80% of the island, home to approximately 3.3 million people, Bharadwaj had a better idea. He began working on creating what he refers to as solar saver boxes for Puerto Rico to assist the nearly 50,000 residents who were, as of April 17th, still without power, according to the U.S. government. As president of the Penn State student chapter of the American Solar Energy Society, Bharadwaj tapped the club for help with the solar saver boxes. Much like commercial installations, the group calculated energy needs to create wattage and storage requirements and assessed the solar energy potential for Puerto Rico. Those calculations shaped the design process that resulted in a 30-watt and 16-amp-hour box capable of each day charging about 35 phones.
Global lake evaporation will increase 16% by the end of the century as a consequence of climate change, a new Yale study finds. But the specific mechanisms that will drive that phenomenon are not quite what scientists expected. While it is commonly believed that lake evaporation is controlled primarily by incoming solar radiation, the researchers used modeling tools to show that other factors, from shorter ice periods to a reallocation of heat energy at lake surfaces, are accelerating the loss of lake water into the atmosphere. Using a lake simulator model to evaluate lake-atmosphere interactions for all of the major lakes in the world from 2005 to 2100, the researchers found that about half of the changes in evaporation were attributed to changes in surface energy allocations and shortened ice periods. These hydrological responses to climate change will have profound impacts in regions with many lakes, creating stronger precipitation events as more water evaporates into the atmosphere. What comes up, after all, must come down.
On April 27th and 28th, the Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority collected over 76,000 pounds of household hazardous waste from residents of over 1,200 households. In all, 1,136 vehicles brought hazardous chemicals. Residents from 34 of the county's 35 municipalities participated. There were several dozen people from the 6 surrounding counties and from as far away as Snyder County that came to participate. In addition to the pesticides and other household hazardous waste, nearly 4 miles of fluorescent tubes were accepted for recycling. In addition to CCRRA employees, volunteers from Penn State Environmental Health and Safety, as well as Bellefonte Area Middle School, were on site to assist in checking vehicles. This event was co-sponsored by Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority, the Department of Environmental Protection, and Agriculture. Well, thanks for sticking with us. I'm Juklo. Boy, we started the month off on the mild side, and it looks like that will continue for the next several days. Departing area of high pressure off the east coast will be replaced by our next cold front. And out ahead of that front, we will see some scattered showers and thunderstorms develop for Friday afternoon, also Friday evening for much of the state. Now, this front will push east, but then it really doesn't get a kick out of here. And as we see the next disturbance right along the front, that'll allow some more showers to develop on Saturday, primarily along southern Pennsylvania. It's possible 1 or 2 of these showers squeak their way into State College, but I think here locally we will remain largely on the dry side for Saturday. Now, we'll be watching the next front approach from southern Canada. Looks like that will be here by Sunday, so out ahead of it, we will see some showers by the late afternoon and evening hours on Sunday, but cool air on the other side of the front, also some drier air to welcome in next work week. Here's how the forecast looks for Friday. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, not a washout, but you will be dodging some of these showers throughout the late afternoon hours. 77 for a high, that's about 10 degrees above average. Friday evening, any graduation plans? Pack the umbrella because there will be some evening showers and storms to dodge, otherwise drying out for the overnight and cooling off into the mid-50s. Saturday, I mentioned mostly dry, but there can be a brief shower late into the afternoon and evening hours. Temperatures in the low 70s. And then for Sunday, starting off dry, a couple showers late into the day. Ahead of that next front, high temperatures remaining about 5 degrees above average. Coming up next, Jake has a feature on the departing great Fred Gadomski.
If you spend at least a little bit of time here on the 6th floor of Walker Building since the 1980s, you will find quite a bit around here has changed, but one thing has remained quite the same: Fred Gadomski. Now, he may be professor and host and producer of Weather World here at Penn State, but to many of us here in the weather department, he's much more than that. He's a friend, a colleague, a mentor, a beloved icon. Come August, though, you will enjoy a well-deserved retirement. Now, many of us here in the 6th floor have our own fond memories of Fred, so we, whether or not, have made a little tribute to him. Without further ado, let's take a trip down memory lane.
For over 30 years, Fred Gadomski, along with Paul Knight, was the face of Weather World, teaching countless Pennsylvanians about how Mother Nature ticked, as well as delivering the day's forecast with a smile. Fred was also a master storyteller, from lessons on basic mechanics of weather to stories about falling snakes and small animals from the sky. But Fred's expertise on weather extended to the classroom, too. He taught numerous meteorology courses throughout his career, covering topics from basic meteorology to weather communications and beyond. Fred truly is a jack of all trades. The number of lives he's touched throughout his tenure are numerous and expansive. Students and faculty alike have their best memories of Fred. Here is just a sampling.
There's something to be said about working with a colleague who's been doing what he loves for so long, 30 plus years. It helps that knowledge get passed down, and I wouldn't be half the forecaster I am today if it was not for Fred Gadomski. I think the favorite memory I have of Fred was being able to invite him to my wedding. Because Fred also, not only is he very knowledgeable and loves what he does, but he loves to have a good time.
Hey there, Fred. It's been an absolute blast being in class with you, and I have to say I'm not sure how to take my inaugural membership to the 10 to the 3rd Club in 416 class, but I hope your retirement's as easy as your 13 easy steps in. Thanks for everything, Fred.
One of my favorite things about Fred is that he certainly has taught me a lot about the English language, and my vocabulary would be nowhere where it is now if not for Fred's ebullient descriptions of words.
a brilliant rainbow arcing across the landscape, peals of thunder rumbling across a foreboding summer sky, or a gentle rain bringing water to the brown earth.
So my favorite memory of Fred would be if he would dance with me at the beginning of Weather World, but since that's not the case, I'd say my favorite memory would be with him and I in Meteor 482, Weather Communications 2, that class where we were in the radio booth together and we were talking about climate change and having a cool discussion about that. So it was cool to not only watch a broadcaster, but get to broadcast with a legend. So that was one of my favorite memories with Fred.
Now, even though Fred won't be graduating until this coming August, this is our last chance for us graduating seniors to say our goodbyes and pay our respects. Since Fred loves his Hawaiian shirts, I decided to pull out of my closet and pick out one of these guys just for today. Now, needless to say, he has impacted many lives across his time here at Penn State. He's inspired us to look to the skies more and take just a little breather and appreciate Mother Nature all the much more. For Whether or Not, I'm Jake Lay, and I again thank you, Fred.
Well, welcome back. We were talking about the mild weather this weekend. Showery at times, but we'll recap it here. Again, it looks like the greatest threat for rain comes Friday with our next cold front. 77 for a high temperature. We'll cool it off slightly for Saturday and Sunday. And I think much of the weekend will be dry. There can again be that brief shower for Saturday and a couple showers late into the day on Sunday, but temperatures remaining largely above average this weekend. It looks like that trend will continue for much of next week. It does look like in behind the Sunday cold front, Monday looks to be the coolest day of the week under a mostly cloudy sky, but then temperatures start to moderate again. Looks like we'll reach above average again by Tuesday and Wednesday. Right now, Wednesday looks like we'll reach the mid-70s, and the distant future looks to have the next cold front move in by Thursday, so that'll allow some more showers to move on in. Temperatures staying in the low to mid-70s.
So not quite as hot as we've been this weekend coming up next week.
Yeah, even behind the fronts this weekend, we're going to be seasonal at worst, but as you saw, even another moderating trend into next week. So more consistent early summer-like weather, you could say.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that because it's been a little bit too long. We've had some cold here.
Yeah, and no snow, thankfully.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
And earlier in the show, we actually asked you, the viewers, the town of Bradford in northern Pennsylvania had their snowiest May on record in 1989. Can you believe it? It snows in May in Pennsylvania.
Every year, almost every year it has.
It has, right? And the question was how much snow fell during the month. Was it A, 4.8 inches, B, 6.6 inches, C, 8.5 inches, or D, 10.2 inches? And I really hope it's not D.
That's a lot of snow.
That is a lot of snow for May. Well, if you guessed C, you are correct.
Okay.
While much of northern Pennsylvania sees at least a trace of snow on average each May, an unusually cold pattern in 1989 helped Bradford see a very wintry May. And I can't even imagine getting 8.5 inches of snow here in State College.
No, I would not like that. I wouldn't. Well, on average, Bradford sees less than a half inch of snow each May, but in 1989, they went well over that at 8.5 inches of snow.
So you don't see that in the extended forecast, do you?
No snow as far as the eye can see.
All right.
It's not impossible that later in the month we get another cold shot, but at this point, the more we go further into May, the less likely it becomes.
Good to see. I'm over the snow and into summer mode here. And
it's the last week of class, last final exam week, I should say.
It is. It's finals week here at Penn State, and because of that, this is our last Whether or Not, and Addis and I's last Whether or Not ever here as Penn State students as we're both graduating. So it's been quite a ride.
Yes, it's been a pleasure working with you, my friend.
It's been a true pleasure working with you, Addis. So definitely a fun experience, and we look forward to next semester's Whether or Not crew coming in.
Of course. So even though this is our last show in our college career, we're confident that the next crew for fall 2018 will continue delivering some very successful Whether or Nots.
I think they will, and I have full confidence that they will do that.
Me too.
Well, for the final time, I've been your host, Andy Moffitt.
And I've been your forecaster, Addis Juklo.
Good night, everybody, and have a great summer.